Shalom, it's Levi Shore. Welcome back to Swing Torah. So today for Parshas Balak, we're going to learn the defense against the dark arts. We're going to learn defense against those who practice magic and sorcery. Now, if maybe you're a muggle and you don't think the wizarding world really exists, you think it's all just fantasy. So when you get a chance, sometime Google some of these names of some of these secret societies that practice the occult sciences. They practice magic and sorcery. So you can look up the Golden Dawn, or Philema, or the Rosicrucians, or OTO, which is very strange. It's Ordo Templi Orientis. It's maybe the most strange of them all. Or if you want to learn more about the Ministry of Magic itself, you can Google Freemasonry and ceremonial magic. All right, so let's go back now to learn a little bit about the history of magic, and we'll see how Hashem protects us with His Torah and its mitzvos from those who practice magic and sorcery. So the greatest practitioners of magic in the history of the world were the ancient Egyptians, were Paro, the pharaohs, and they were some of the greatest practitioners of magic. And you can see that when Moshe and Aaron, when Moses and Aaron, they came to the Pharaoh to demonstrate some of the miracles that Hashem had told them to do, and they turned a stick into the snake, the Egyptians weren't impressed at all. They actually, whatever their level of magic knowledge was, their school children could do this. So it didn't make any impression on them whatsoever. And it's interesting because if we look now, if you take the best physicists or the top scientists, I don't think any of them could figure out a way through science to turn a stick into a snake. And okay, you can just brush it aside and say I don't believe it, but I mean this is what really happened. And there's people that do practice this stuff, this magic and sorcery, and they've been practicing it because it does have an effect. And we're going to learn more about it in this week's parsha. And one of the three top advisors of the Pharaoh was Bilam. And he, at the time, was one of the top magicians, sorcerers. And there was another sorcerer named Balak, who he was appointed to be king of Moab. And Moab, the nation of Moab, which is now in present-day Jordan, they were getting concerned because the Jewish people were going to come out of the Midbar. They were going to come out of the desert soon, and they were going to come through there. And that was going to be some of the land of Eretz Yisrael that we were going to inherit. And they were nervous of getting pushed aside, even though Hashem said that the land of Ammon and Moab and Edom would not be given to the Jewish people until the end of days, until Mashiach comes. All right, so let's jump in a little bit to the second prophecy of Bilam. Now, what they did was very dangerous. What Balak and Bilam did. Balak, through his sorcery, he knew some kind of power of divination, and he could see into the future. He couldn't see clearly, but he could see like there was going to be some bad misfortune that would happen to Jewish people in certain places. And so he picked three specific places where they were going to try to curse the Jewish people. And Bilam had this power, this evil eye, the ability to curse other people. And I think there was a war between Midian and Moab, and Bilam was hired by one side to curse the other army, and it worked, and this one side was successful, so he was very valuable in this whole military strategy back then. So what they did is they built 7 altars in these 3 different places, and then they offered, I forgot exactly, it may have been a bull and a ram in each location, but they offered a total of 14 offerings in all 3 locations, so it was a total of 42 offerings to Hashem, and that was the most dangerous thing, because instead of just doing this spell in this name of some false god, in the name of some avodah zarah that they were worshiping, they were actually bringing the offerings to Hashem himself, and then they were asking Hashem to destroy the Jewish people for them. So it's a really weird concept, but it's actually one of the most dangerous concepts because they were actually asking Hashem himself. So Bilam wanted to curse the Jewish people, and then Hashem turned the words around in his mouth, so the curses came out as blessings. So if you reverse the blessings, you'll see what Bilam's intention really was. So there's 3 different sets of prophecy of Nevuah that Bilam did. And it's actually interesting because it says there was no greater prophet, no greater Navi than Moshe among his people. And then in the Sifri, it makes a drash. It expounds, well, among the Jewish people, there was no greater prophet than Moses. But among the nations, there was a prophet that was as great as Moshe, and that was Bilam. But Bilam was he was harnessing this koach tuma, the powers of tuma, the sitra achra, the other side, and unfortunately they do these practices. They get these powers through spiritual impurity, and you're going to see there's limits on all this, and it's only really Hashem's ratzon, Hashem's will, that decides what will happen and what won't happen. But Bilam was given prophecy on this level, so that one day after Mashiach comes, all the nations will say, well, if you gave us a prophet as great as Moshe, as great as Moses, we also would follow the Torah. And Hashem can point and says, I gave you Bilam, and you should have listened to his prophecies, to see what to do. All right, so Bilam starts out and he says, arise, Balak, and listen. So listen to me, you son of Tzipor. And Balak was appointed king of Moab to fight against the Jewish people. And we're learning today from the Midrash Says. I highly recommend it, by Rabbi Moshe Weissman. It's a fantastic collection of all these Midrashim, and it really helps expand your knowledge of the Parsha. So we said, do not make light of my prophecy, Balak. You may not remain seated while listening to Hashem's words. So arise and stand on your feet. So then Bilam says, Lo ish kel v'chazeh. He says, God is not a man that he should be false, that he should lie, that he should be deceitful. He says, Ben Adam, v'yis nacham. And he's not a son of Adam. He's not a human being that he should relent. So it says here in the Midrash says that a man sometimes makes a promise and later either refuses to fulfill it or regrets having made it. But Hashem, however, he stands by his word. He promised the Avos, he promised Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, our fathers, that he would bring the Jewish people to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel, and he would give them possession of it. Do you think that he will break his promise and let you destroy them in the wilderness? So from Bilam's blessing, we can see the curse that he wished to say, that he wanted Hashem to break the bris, break the covenant with the Jewish people, or with the Avos specifically, and then not bring the Jewish people into Eretz Yisrael. So Ahu Amor V'lo Yaseh, he has said, and will he not do it? So V'diber V'lo Yikimena, or he has spoken and he will not fulfill it. So if he said, he will do it. To suggest that there are indeed times when Hashem does not fulfill his word, if he decrees evil upon a people, a nation, and they do teshuvah, then he gets rid of his gezer, he gets rid of his decree. The Almighty's blessing, however, cannot be changed. So Hashem is certain to fulfill his promise to Abraham, and he says, lift up now your eyes and look from the place where you are. Look northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see, to you I will give it, and to your offspring forever, and I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth. I mean, it says this in the book of Breshis in Genesis, chapter 13, Pasukim 14 to 16. So next in the prophecy, he says, Hine barech, or lekachat, behold, I have received blessings, uveirech lo ashivena. He has blessed, and I cannot retrieve it. So in his heart, Bilam was begging Hashem not to compel him to pronounce further blessings, but his actual speech admitted that he was in Hashem's power. So it shows you that he was trying to curse, he was trying to use his sorcery and his magic to curse the Jewish people, and Hashem was, it's Hashem's ratzon, it's Hashem's will that determines what will happen in this world. And this philosophy of magic, they think it's their willpower, and they feel like the magician can overcome, change the world to his will, but it's not true, and it's the will of Hashem that always rules in this world. So next he continues, he says, Lo he beat Aven b'Yaakov. He has not seen sin, he has not seen sin in Yaakov, in the Jewish people. V'lo ra'a amal b'Yisrael. And he has not seen perversity in Yisrael. So Bilam was trying to find fault with the Jewish people. But that generation that reached Eretz Yisrael, they were a generation of tzaddikim, and so he was forced to admit that he could find no sinners among them. Now, according to another interpretation, Bilam made a general statement that God spares even the common Jews, Yaakov, from immediate destruction, which they deserve for their wrongdoings, because the tzaddikim, Yisrael, They're free of sin, and they protect the entire generation. So we see the tzaddikim among us, the great Torah scholars, and the people that have refined their midos, their character traits, to serve Hashem purely, and they don't have these feelings of arrogance and greed and jealousy, and they've purified their personality. These that they protect all of us. So the great tzaddikim in our generations, they protect all of us. So Bilam's words in this pasuk could imply that God ignores the sins of the Jewish people because He loves them. So in reality, we know that Hashem does not let anyone's sins go unpunished. Bilam was intentionally flattering the Jews, and his flattery was effective, for later they became conceited and they sinned in the place of shittim. So then it says, Hashem Elokav imo, that Hashem is his God, is with him. Uteruas melech bo, and the Shekinah of the king is with him. So you, Balak, you told me to curse the Jewish people with my powers of Tumah. How can I curse a people whose God is constantly in their midst and guards them? A thief may be able to enter a vineyard and uproot it while its owner is sleeping, but the guardian of Yisrael neither sleeps nor slumbers. And we learn that in Tehillim 121:4. So how then can I harm the Jews? So we see that Hashem Shekinah is always residing with the Jewish people, and Hashem never sleeps, never slumbers, is always protecting us. So when Balak heard Bilam's words, he says, is it possible that your curses are ineffective because of the power of their present leader Moshe? Perhaps you should delay the effect of the curse for the time after Moshe's death, when the Jews will be guided by another leader. So Bilam said it's impossible. Moshe's successor, Joshua, will battle his enemies as vigorously as Moshe does. When he will blow trumpets before Hashem, the walls of Jericho will crumble and fall. So then it says, Kel motziam mimitzrayim. God brought them out of Egypt. Kisoafos re'aim lo. And with the strength of the re'aim, or in this case, we're going to see that make the drash. Chazal makes the drash of demons. So you, Balak, told me, behold, a people has come out of Egypt. These words were inaccurate. The people could not have left Egypt by themselves, but must have been brought out by God in a supernatural manner. Because Bilam said he enchanted all the boundaries of Egypt with powers of magic in order to prevent the escape of the Jewish slaves. However, with my witchcraft was ineffective because God himself brought them out. So even shadim, even demons are subject to God's power, to Hashem's power, and he made use of them to redeem the Jews from Egypt. So it's interesting because some part of magic, people, they will try to summon demons, which, by the way, very dangerous practice. And these demons supply some magical powers to the people that summon them, but it's very dangerous. And these shindalids, they mixed truth with lies, and they try to undo the person that's trying to gain powers from them. And Hashem's showing that these shindalids, these demons, are merely his servants, and they do his will. And that he even used these destructive spiritual forces to help save us from Egypt, from Mitzrayim. So velo nachash b'Yaakov, for there's no divination in Yaakov, velo kesem b'Yisrael, and there's no sorcery in Yisrael. So this pasuk can be understood in two ways. So no divination is effective against Yaakov, since Hashem is in its midst. So therefore the tools of magic that the wise men of Midian brought to me were totally useless. For unlike other nations, this people is not ruled by Sarim. It's not ruled by a guardian angel, but is under Hashem's direct supervision. When my grandfather Lavan sought to destroy their father Yaakov with his arts of magic, Hashem did not let him succeed. And similarly, I cannot overcome Yaakov's descendants. So no diviners and sorcerers can be found among the Jews. They do not practice magic like the other nations, but consult Hashem directly through their prophets, through their Nevi'im, and through the Urim V'Tumim. And the Urim V'Tumim was the golden breastplate that the Kohen Gadol would wear, and it had the 12 stones, and each stone was representing one of the tribes, one of the Shvatim of Israel. And this great people, therefore, certainly deserve to be blessed. So he says, Ke'es ye'amer liYaakov liYisrael ma pa'al el. So a time will come when it will be said to Yaakov and to Yisrael, what has Hashem wrought? What has God wrought? So in the time of Mashiach, Hashem will perform miracles for the Jewish people, surpassing all those of the past. The other nations will then come and inquire the Jewish people about Hashem's great deeds, his great actions. So in the era following the Techiyas HaMesim, when Hashem will resurrect the dead, he will bring the dead back to life, Hashem's love for the Jewish people will become evident to all. Hashem personally will be their Torah teacher, and the Tzaddikim will sit in front of Hashem like students before their Rebbe, and he will reveal to them the profound meanings of the Torah. The angels will not be permitted to enter, but will have to inquire from the Jews, what has Hashem taught you? So, Hein im kalavi yakum. Behold, the people will rise as a lioness, v'cha'ari yisnach sa, and lift himself up as a lion. So this people rises as strong as a lion, and will not rest until it will have destroyed its enemies and taken the spoils of Eretz Canaan. So there's no nation on earth that serves the Creator as energetically as the Jewish people. When a Jewish person rises in the morning, he strengthens himself like a lion to seize mitzvos, to put on tzitzi and tefillin, and to recite the Kriya Shema, the Shema, in its proper time. So v'lo yishkav ad yochal teref, v'dam chalalim yishta, and he will not lie down until he eats of the prey and drinks the blood of the slain. So let's see what it means here. So Bilam predicted that Moshe would not pass away before taking revenge on him and the 5 Midianite kings. And a Jewish person does not lie down at night until he recites the Kriya Shema, when he pronounces the words, Hashem is one, Hashem echad, thus acknowledging that there's no power other than the Almighty, and God destroys all the harmful agents. And right there is one of the keys to a defense against the dark arts. And in the book Nefesh HaChaim by Rabbi Chaim Volozhin, I think it's in the third parak, the third chapter, he says that the way to overcome, and I think he quotes the Gemara, the way to overcome all sorcery, all spells, is by concentrating on the fact that Hashem hu ha-Elokim, ein od levado. And just focus on that and nothing can harm you. That Hashem, that the merciful, loving aspect of Hashem is the same as Elokim, as the judgment, as the din, as the punishing aspect of God. And that both of these are one, and it's one unity. And that even when Hashem has to bring judgment upon the world, that he does it with kindness and compassion. And we can't always see the big picture of how all these events are leading up to the age of Mashiach and leading to the perfection of the world. And all this is for mankind's good. And there's no other. Ein od levado. It's only one unity, one source of all blessing and all life. And when the world sees this, there will be no need to fight anymore, because they'll see that there's an infinite creator, an infinite provider that loves everyone, is providing for everyone's needs. And when we get that concept of Hashem hu ha-Elokim, ein od levado, nothing can harm us, and for sure no sorcerer or magician will be able to have any effect on us when we know that we're attached to the infinite creator, and Hashem runs everything, and that it's only Hashem's will that decides if something will happen or won't happen. All right, hope you enjoyed it. Have a great Shabbos, and I hope to see you back again on Sweet and Good Torah.